I was in that bridal shop, my dress feeling like a dream I'd waited years for. 2 weeks until I'd marry Mark, the guy I'd given my whole heart to for 6 years. I was so wrapped up in it, our future, our promises, then my phone pinged. One message, and everything I believed in just exploded. He didn't just cheat. The way I found out, it was so awful, so cruel, it still chokes me up thinking about it. Mark was my rock. We'd lie in bed, planning our life, kids, a little house, growing old together. I was killing myself over wedding details, picking out centerpieces, dressing over the playlist, all for him, for us. But while I was doing that, he was out there stabbing me in the back. And the way I learned the truth wasn't from some text I snooped on or a friend's warning. It was so much worse. Like a punch I never saw coming. Did you ever have a moment where your heart feels like it's being ripped out? That was me, standing there, my perfect dress mocking me. I wanted to scream, to burn everything down. But even in that pain, something inside me said, "You're not done yet." This is my story, how my world got wrecked, how I faced the ugliest truth, and how I fought back. Come with me through this. You won't believe what happened. If you've ever had someone you love turn on you, you'll feel this deep in your bones. Drop your story in the comments. I want to hear it. Let's get into the moment my life changed forever. That moment in the bridal shop with my dress hugging me like a promise was everything. I was 38, finally feeling like life was falling into place. Mark was my guy, the one I'd been waiting for after too many years of dead-end dates and guys who didn't stick around. We met at a backyard barbecue 6 years ago. He was cute, a little clumsy, spilled beer on my sandals, and made me laugh so hard I forgot to be mad. By the end of that night, I was gone for him. He wasn't some fairy tale prince, but he was real. Or so I thought. We built something good, together. Our apartment was small, but it was ours. Full of mismatched furniture, his dumb sports posters, and my candles everywhere. We'd spend Sundays curled up on the couch watching old movies or dreaming out loud about our future. When he got down on one knee last spring, in the middle of our favorite hiking trail, I was a mess, sobbing and nodding before he even finished asking. That ring on my finger felt like a vow that nothing could break us. The wedding became my whole world. I wanted it to be perfect, not over the top, just us. We picked this gorgeous lakeside venue with twinkling lights and wildflowers I'd spent hours choosing. I'd stay up late scrolling through Pinterest, obsessing over every detail. Vintage table runners, a cake with real roses, a dress that made me feel beautiful. I'd sneak into our bedroom and try it on, spinning in front of the mirror, picturing Mark's smile when he saw me coming down the aisle. He'd laugh, call me his wedding nerd, then pull me close and say it'd all be worth it. I hung on to every word. Life with Mark wasn't always smooth, but it felt solid. He worked late a lot, some big marketing job that kept him out with clients. Sometimes he'd come home smelling like he'd had a few drinks, mumbling about team meetings. I didn't make a big deal of it. He was stressed and I trusted him. We still had our moments. Like when he'd surprise me with coffee in bed, or slip a cheesy note into my bag that said, "You're my home." Those little things made me feel like we were unstoppable. My best friend Jess was my lifeline through the wedding craziness. She'd show up with takeout, helping me fold programs, or joking about how I'd faceplant in my heels. But every now and then she'd get quiet and ask if Mark was acting weird. "He's just tired," I'd say, waving her off. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't notice how he'd started locking his phone or how his hugs felt rushed, like he was somewhere else. I was too wrapped up in our love story, dreaming of kids someday, family road trips, maybe a little house with a porch swing. Looking back, I missed so much. He'd get annoyed when I asked about his day, brushing me off with a grunt. One night, he got a text and practically ran to the bathroom to check it, saying it was just a work thing. I let it go. I didn't want to be paranoid. I'd been burned before, years ago, by a guy who cheated and lied like it was nothing. Mark knew that story. He'd hold me tight, promise he'd never hurt me like that I could count on him, and I believed him. I gave him everything. My heart, my plans, my trust. With the wedding 2 weeks out, I was a bundle of nervous and joy. I'd spend hours checking guest lists, arguing with the florist, and making sure every piece was perfect. Mark seemed off, quieter, a little snappy, but I told myself it was just the pressure. Jess kept nudging me to talk to him, but I'd just laugh and say we were fine. I didn't feel the ground shifting under me. I was so caught up in my bubble, my dress, my vows, my forever, that I didn't see the truth creeping closer, ready to tear it all down. If you've ever loved someone so much you couldn't imagine them letting you down, you know how I felt. I thought I was safe, that Mark was my home. I had no idea how wrong I was, or how close I was to losing everything. Those last 2 weeks before the wedding were a blur of checklists and butterflies. I was so caught up in the final push, confirming the DJ, fussing over table settings, that I barely noticed how distant Mark had gotten. But looking back, the signs were screaming at me. That knot in my stomach, the one I'd ignored when Jess asked if he was acting weird, was starting to tighten. I kept telling myself it was just nerves, that we were both stressed. But then I found something that flipped my world upside down. It was a Tuesday, 10 days before the big day. I was really digging through Mark's jacket pocket for a pen to jot down a vendor's number. My fingers brushed against a folded piece of paper. A receipt from a hotel downtown, dated last weekend for a room we'd never stayed at together. My heart stuttered. I stood there, staring at it, my mind racing. Maybe it was a work thing like he always said about his late nights. Maybe it was nothing. But the knot in my gut was now a fist, squeezing tighter. I tried to shake it off. I stuffed the receipt back in his pocket and went back to my to-do list. But it was like a splinter in my brain. That night, when Mark got home, I casually asked about his weekend. "Just work," he said, barely looking up from his phone. His voice was flat, and he didn't meet my eyes. I wanted to push, to ask about the hotel, but the words stuck in my throat. I didn't want to be the crazy fiancé, the one who doesn't trust, so I let it go. Or at least, I tried to. But the doubt wouldn't quit. Over the next few days, I started noticing things I'd brushed off before. How he'd angle his phone away when he texted, how he'd snap if I got too close while he was typing. By Friday, I was a mess, jumping every time his phone buzzed. Jess came over to help with favors, and I must have looked like a ghost because she grabbed my hands and said, "What's going on with you?" I blurted out about the receipt. Her face went still, and she said, "You need to talk to him." No, I didn't want to. I wanted to keep pretending everything was fine. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Mark was out, another work dinner, and I was pacing our apartment, my mind chewing on that damn receipt. Around midnight, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. No words, just a video. My hands shook as I tapped play. It was grainy, but clear enough. Mark, in a hotel bar, laughing, his arm around a woman. She leaned in, kissed him, and he kissed her back, deep, like he used to kiss me. The camera zoomed in, catching every second of their hands all over each other, their smiles, their ease. It wasn't just some fling. They looked happy. I don't know how long I sat there, the video looping on my phone. My chest felt like it was caving in. I wanted to scream, to throw something, but I was frozen, watching my life unravel in pixelated slow motion. This wasn't just cheating. It was a whole other life he was living, one I wasn't part of. And the way I found out, this anonymous video, sent like a cruel joke, made it so much worse. Who sent it? Why? I didn't care. All I could see was Mark's hand on her waist, his lips on hers, and every promise he'd ever made to me turning to ash. I don't remember deciding to call him. My fingers just dialed, and when he picked up, his voice was all casual. "Hey babe, what's up?" I could barely speak. "Where are you?" I managed. He laughed and said he was grabbing drinks with the guys. The lie was so easy, so smooth, it made my skin crawl. I hung up and sat there, my heart pounding so hard I thought it'd burst. I didn't cry, not yet. I was too angry, too shattered. When he got home, it was past 2 a.m. I was on the couch, the phone in my hand, the video paused on his face. He walked in, saw me, and stopped dead. "What's wrong?" he asked, but his voice wasn't steady anymore. I held up the phone, hit play, and watched his face change. No shock, no panic, just this cold, blank look. Like he'd been caught at something he'd always expected. "We need to talk," I said, my voice shaking but sharp. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there as the room filled with the weight of everything he'd done. If you've ever had your trust ripped out from under you, you know how it feels. Like the ground's gone, and you're falling. I was falling, and all I could think was, how could you do this to me? I didn't know who that woman was or how long this had been going on, but I was about to find out. And I wasn't going to let him lie his way out of it. Mark stood there, frozen in the dim light of our living room, the video still glowing on my phone. His face wasn't shocked or sorry, just blank, like he'd been practicing for this moment. My hands were shaking, but my voice came out steady, cutting through the silence. "Who is she, Mark? And don't you dare lie to me." He opened his mouth, then closed it like he was weighing how much truth I could handle. That's when I knew this wasn't just a one-time screw-up. This was going to break me. He finally sighed, rubbed his face, and said, "It's not what you think." Classic. I laughed, but it was bitter, like something was clawing its way out of me. "Not what I think? I saw you kissing her, Mark. I saw you happy." He flinched, but then he did something I didn't expect. He sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, "It's Jess, my best friend. Jess, the one who'd been at my side through every wedding plan, every tear, every laugh." My stomach dropped, and for a second, I thought I'd misheard. "Jess?" I whispered, my voice cracking. He nodded, and the room spun. And it wasn't just that he'd cheated. It was that Jess, my Jess, who'd helped me pick my dress, who'd stayed up late stuffing envelopes, who knew every scar on my heart, was the one in that video. The woman laughing with him, kissing him, living the life I thought was mine. I felt like I was choking. "How long?" I demanded. Mark looked away, muttering, "A few months. A few months." While I was planning our forever, they were sneaking around, building their own little world behind my back. I don't know how I got to my phone, but I started scrolling through texts, emails, and anything. Mark didn't stop me. Maybe he knew it was over. I found a thread between them, buried in his deleted messages. They weren't just hooking up. They were planning. Texts about when she's gone and our place. They mocked me, Jess calling me clueless, Mark joking about my perfect wedding. Every word was a knife, slicing through 6 years of love, 10 years of friendship. I wasn't just betrayed. I was a fool. I looked at him, sitting there like a stranger, and something snapped. "You're disgusting," I said, my voice low, shaking with rage. "Both of you." I grabbed my keys and my phone and stormed out, driving straight to Jess's place. It was 3 a.m., but I didn't care. I banged on her door until she opened it, her face pale, eyes wide like she'd been expecting me. "How could you?" I screamed, not caring who heard. She tried to talk, mumbling about how it just happened, how she didn't mean to hurt me. I cut her off. "You didn't mean to. You lied to my face every day. You watched me plan my wedding while you were sleeping with him." I don't remember everything I said. It was a blur of hurt and fury. I told her she was nothing to me anymore, that she'd never be half the woman I was. I threw my engagement ring at her doorstep, the metal clinking against the concrete like the end of everything. She was crying, but I didn't care. Her tears didn't mean a thing after what she'd done. I got back in my car, my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles were white, and drove until the sun came up. Nowhere to go, just trying to outrun the pain. Sitting in a diner later that morning, nursing a coffee I couldn't taste, I realized this wasn't just about losing Mark. It was about losing Jess, my family, my trust in everyone. They'd taken my world and burned it down, laughing while they did it. But as I sat there, something shifted. I wasn't going to let them win. I wasn't going to be the pathetic fiancé they pitied. I was done crying over people who didn't deserve me. Us having 7 of the dwarves come downstairs, I didn't know how yet, but I was going to make them feel this hurt, make them see what they'd thrown away. If you've ever been stabbed in the back by the people you loved most, you know this kind of pain. It's not just a broken heart. It's a broken everything. I stood there, facing the 2 people I trusted most, and saw them for who they really were. But I also saw myself, and I wasn't going to let their lies define me. I was going to fight back, and they were going to regret ever crossing me. That morning in the diner, with my untouched coffee and a heart that felt like it'd been run over, I made a choice. Mark and Jess didn't get to ruin me. They'd taken my trust, my wedding, and my best friend, but they weren't taking my fight. I drove back to our apartment, packed a bag, and walked out. No note, no goodbye. I canceled the wedding that day, called the venue, the caterer, everyone. It was like burying a dream, but every call made me feel a little stronger, like I was clawing my way back to myself. I moved in with my sister Claire, who'd been right about Mark all along. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just hugged me and let me cry until I couldn't anymore. Those first weeks were brutal. I'd wake up gasping, reliving that video, those texts, Jess's fake tears at her door. I felt so stupid for trusting them, for not seeing the signs. But Claire kept reminding me. They're the ones who should be ashamed, not you. Slowly, I started to believe her. I didn't want to just disappear, to let them think they'd gotten away clean, so I did something I never thought I'd have the guts for. I posted on social media, not a rant, but the truth. I shared my story. The video, the lies, Jess's betrayal. I didn't name them outright, but our circle knew. The post blew up. Friends, family, and even people I hadn't talked to in years reached out, shocked and angry for me. Mark's coworkers saw it, and word got around. He lost a big promotion he'd been bragging about for months. Jess? She tried to play the victim, but mutual friends cut her off. Their perfect little secret world started crumbling, and I didn't have to lift a finger to make it happen. It wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about taking back my voice. I'd spent years building a life with Mark, supporting him, believing in him, and he threw it away. Jess, who'd known me since we were kids, chose to stab me in the back. They didn't get to walk away like nothing happened. Seeing them face real consequences, Mark's career hit, Jess's social circle shrinking, felt like justice, like the universe was finally on my side. But the real win was me. I started therapy, something I'd always dodged. It was hard, digging into the pain, but it helped me see I wasn't broken, just bruised. I got a new job, one I actually loved, and moved into my own place. A tiny studio with a view of the city. I'd sit by the window at night, sipping tea, feeling like I was enough, just me. I started painting again, a hobby I'd dropped for Mark. Every brushstroke felt like a piece of myself coming back. I'm not going to lie, it still hurts sometimes. I miss the life I thought I'd have, the promises we made. But I don't miss Mark or Jess. They showed me who they were, and I'm better off without them. I learned I'm stronger than I ever knew, that I can rebuild from nothing. I thought I needed him to be whole, but I was wrong. I'm whole on my own. If you've ever been betrayed like this, you know it feels like the end of the world. But it's not. You can come back, fiercer than before. Share your story in the comments. I want to hear how you got through. Let's lift each other up. This is my truth, and I'm not letting anyone take it from me again.